We're going to take a closer look at our game Rover Control and see how to solve and think about solving a more complicated challenge. So here we have intermediate challenge number 17, and this challenge has a course that introduces the concept of a decision point, which tells us that we have a loop and a conditional here. At this decision point, we will either move in this direction along the map or in this direction. So let's take a look at our map here. The only information we have so far is that there are 3 charging stations at points 6, 7, and 2, along with our start at 9, our end at 0, and 2 checkpoints at 7 and 8. Now remember, it's important that for each pathway, you pay attention to the colors that are coming out of the points. So here for point 5, we have a blue pathway, and that means that we cannot have a blue pathway connected to point 5 from any other direction. So the first thing to do now is to read our course and really understand what it means. What the course is telling us is that from the start, we'll move 2 spaces, red and green, at which point we need to be at one of our checkpoints, either 7 or 8. Now, if at that point we're on a charging station, which is to say on number 7, we'll follow this path and move on red and blue pathways. If we're not at a charging station, we'll follow this path, which would ask again, or which would require, I should say, that you're on a checkpoint before moving along green and red pathways to the end. So as we know, our first move has to be to a checkpoint in 2 moves. Looking at the board, we can see that there's no way to achieve this and arrive at checkpoint number 8. You need at least 3 moves to get there. So we have to get to number 7. Let's try this route, from 9 to 6 to 7. So I'm going to color my pathways and arrive here. Now the course is asking us, are you at a charging station? And the answer is yes. So our next 2 moves have to be along red and blue pathways, which either take us back to a charging station or to a checkpoint. Because as the course says, if we're not at a charging station, we move in this direction along the course, and we need to be at a checkpoint. So we need in 2 moves to get either to number 6, 2, 8, or 7, right back where we are, which is impossible in this case. Let's try moving from 7 to the charging station at point 2, which means that we'll need to color in red and blue pathways. Now we've moved over to point 2, which is also on a charging station. So if we look back at our course, we see that we need to again move along red and then blue pathways. Now, let's say that we wanted to cut to the end here and try and find a quick solution. If we're not going to land on a charging station, we need to land on a checkpoint. And there's only one checkpoint we could get to from where we are by using a red and then a blue path, and that's 8. So, if we wanted to go to 8, we would have to have this be a red pathway, and then 5 to 8 be a blue pathway. But that's not possible, because then 5 would have 2 blue pathways coming out of it, which, as we explained at the beginning, is a rule that you can't break. So in this case, we're going to move through to the next charging station by moving along a red path here, and then a blue path to the charging station at point 6 on the map. Now, we are at a charging station, which means we need to go through the loop again, red and then blue. Our only red option is along this pathway, and so let's take a second and think about what that means for the next move. We can either go in this direction or in this direction. But we know that we need to land on a checkpoint if we don't land on a charging station, which means our only option is to color this pathway in as blue and land on point 8. Looking at our course again, we're back at this decision point, and the answer is no, we are not standing on a charging station. So now the program asks, are you on a checkpoint? And the answer is yes, we're on checkpoint number 8. And so now we need to move along a green and then a red path to get to the end. Now, we don't have anything colored in here, so there's no problem at all to just color in our course from 8 to 1 as green, and from 1 to 0 as red. And that's how you solve a Rover control puzzle.